Carla Connors.
That is right. This is Curt Connors, gender swapped and black. I can't even take this seriously. I mean, I made a video about this last year saying that everyone now is black in the new Spider-Man show, right? That no one else can be white Peter Parker. And now it gets even worse here. She's a gender swapped black woman. And it's just like, come on. So if you don't know what it is, right, this is the Lizard, which of course is a classic Spider-Man villain, right? But also, of course, a friend in the character of Curt Connors, which of course is an interesting friend, right, of Spider-Man, because as a Peter Parker, it's one of his mentors, a teacher to him, right? And he lost one arm, so using the DNA from a lizard to try to regrow his arm, right? They basically go crazy, and Spider-Man has to come and save him, but also try to revert him and hurting him and so forth, right? So, classic Spider-Man villain, right? And in the new show, then, it's a woman, she's black or whatever, right? And I know people say, oh, come on, oh, you're just being whatever, X and Y and Z, but come on, man. This is the most woke thing ever. So, I'm gonna show you guys, I watched episode 1 and 2 here, guys. We're gonna go over the whole episode, and there's so many faults in this episode, and I really, really hate them. But, like I said earlier, I already said it, right? I said it again. Curt Connors is black now, and also a woman. I mean, like, I read the last year, it was just like, oh yeah, Norman Osborn is black, Harriet Osborn is black, Eugene Flash Tombstone is black, like Mary Jane is black now, or Latino maybe or something, and now it's like, oh yeah, and also Curt Connors is black and it's a woman. You're like, is anyone not black in this show? I've already said it before, right? And also, as a funny side note, the voice actor of Spider-Man he was into an article like yesterday where he says he's happy that the show isn't woke. Okay, guys, so you know I'm a big Spider-Man fan, right? I got a bunch of Spider-Man figures, got a bunch of Spider-Man paintings. I have like 4 of them in my house. Got the one with Goblins, that kills Gwen Stacy, right? Got a bunch of those. And otherwise, Cap is like my favorite Spider-Man. So I'm a big Spider-Man fan, guys, right? And the new show, as I said last year, really hurt. Really like pulled the last bit of my childhood soul out of me, right? Because it's like, I'm not gonna derail too much again in it, but basically, right, every single character has been like swapped, right, into appropriate current year, you know what I mean? And it's so obviously, and I always say, I don't like using the word woke because everyone will say, oh, woke is just a dog whistle. I mean, what's called that? PC, call it whatever you want then, right? But this is the most absurd Marvel show that I've ever seen when it comes to that. And I genuinely mean it, right? And Marvel, of course, is very, very known at pushing their agenda, right? And it's very sad because Stan Lee said the exact opposite, right? Stan Lee in interviews said, you should never have the message in front of the storyline, right? Stan Lee always said, you have the heroes, the fighting, blah, 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 and then you have the progressive points, the mutants or whatever, so on, in the background, right? Which makes it a better world building, makes it an interesting storyline, but it can never be in the forefront, It should never be, oh, look at me, I am this thing. No, this should be in the background, you know what I mean? But here, of course, it's the most opposite of what he ever wanted it. This is basically spitting on Stan Lee's grave, this show, of anything. But I mean, seriously, right? It says a lot that this show, it is the worst Marvel show that I've ever seen in my life when it comes to actual, like, this progressive over correction, right? Because, to be fair, are there maybe too many white people in the original Spider-Man? Perhaps, right? And then people say, oh, this is better now because this is how New York actually looks. No, New York isn't 99% non-white people, okay? That's not how New York looks either, right? It's just so ridiculous. It's kind of like the Ghostbusters movie where they were like, well, yeah, this is correction. It's only 4 females now. But shouldn't it be like 2 females, 2 men? Would that be better? You know what I mean? But anyway, there's a bunch of issues in these 2 episodes. And I mean it genuinely. And actually, I bring it up at this because the big issue for me in this episode isn't actually Curt Connors being a woman now. Obviously it is. But otherwise, actually it's Tombstone. Okay. So Tombstone, right, another classic villain in the Spider-Man Rogue Gallery, has been rewritten in this show. And he doesn't make any sense. And especially doesn't make any sense because he's an albino, okay, in the original show, and now he isn't anymore. And that to me is just really weird. Okay, but let's first just kind of briefly go over the storyline. And basically, right, Peter now works at Oscorp because Osborn kind of comes to his house and gives him a job. Already here, I think it's stupid, okay? might sound nitpicky, but this is a little dumb to me, right? So basically, Peter is pretty good at school, right? Like one of the best students at school. So Osborn, like basically like Elon Musk or whatever of Marvel, would like travel to his home personally and be like, "You got an internship, kid." Yeah, it just seems really, really far-fetched. And honestly, this is immediately here a rewrite where they don't understand Spider-Man, Norman Osborn, Peter Parker, right? And I really mean that. Ignoring that he's black now, okay? Ignoring Osborn is black now, this storyline is just really stupid, right? So basically, Peter isn't even the best student at the school or whatever, because he's coming late, classes, blah, 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 right? He's a decent kid or whatever. So he gets hired by Osborn because you have potential or whatever. But it doesn't make any sense. And some people say, oh, but isn't that how it is in the original comics, basically? That Osborn always helps Peter Parker and blah, blah, so on. The problem is that Peter in this universe is not friends with Harry Osborn, right? In the classic storyline, and most other universes Spider-Man is, him and Harry and MJ, right, are kind of like shadow friends, you know, or vice versa, like the games type, right? You know, Harry and Peter go way back, right? So the reason Osborn kind of gives a helping hand to Peter more than other kids is because he knows his family. He knows Peter since a kid, you know what I mean? Which also of course makes it hard for Peter to fight Green Goblin because he's like his friend's father, right? You know what I mean? But in this show, they have completely removed the relationship between Harry and Peter. So that Osborn would just travel home to a random teenager and be like, "You're my chosen one, kid. I will hire you and give you all this money, and here's like $1 million to work at my lab because you have some talent." It doesn't make any sense, right? It doesn't make zero sense. This is why I hate these rewrites. And this is going back to my video I made last year about why the Vogue always fails. Because basically, if you're Vogue, you have no talent, right? It's a kind of classic thing with Vogue people is they're very, very talentless. And this to me is just like, they haven't actually understand the dynamic between these two characters, right? At all. Because again, it's hard for Peter to fight Green Goblin because, you know, he's like a mentor to him to some extent, right? He's kind of dog a little bit, but he's also, you know, his friend's father and so on, yada yada, right? By removing all of that, it's going to be way easier for Peter to fight Green Goblin, you know what I mean? To start with. But also, again, this whole dynamic of Norman just visiting his home, it doesn't make any sense. But now, Peter gets that to his new job, right? And I have to say, one thing I really don't like in this show is that everyone has to be something, okay? This is yet another thing that I feel, again, that the authors of this show are just effing terrible. And it really feels like I could easily write something much, much better, much more attentive Spider-Man without trying hard enough, right? And it's really weird how do you hire people? They probably are highest, right? Because seriously, they are so bad at this thing, and I'm so tired of it. Like, why does everyone have to be? First of all, Peter in his universe, he gets his powers thanks to Doctor Strange. So Strange is fighting Venom, clearly, like a monster, you know, occupied by a symbiote, and then a spider kind of falls down through Doctor Strange's portal and bites Peter. So first of all, it's Strange's fault that he gets the powers, so you can't just leave it that it's like a random accident in the lab or whatever to get Spider-Man's power, okay? It has to be some old hero. Then he gets to his new job with Oscorp, right? And as you see here, right, it's like, that's his shoe, you know. The character from the Hulk storylines, he's here for some reason. He works here. And then it's basically like Riri, or this woman here is supposed to be T'Challa's sister, basically. She's from Wakanda. She's like Wakanda's expert, you know, scientist girl. And then the last woman over there, you know who that is? This makes no sense there. That is Taskmaster's daughter, Finesse. I mean, be like, why? It doesn't make any sense. This is just like, they have like randomly just pulled out a chain of characters. Oh, Peter Parker and Taskmaster's daughters are friends now? It doesn't make any sense. This character here, right, Finesse, she's a character from Avengers Academia. After the Civil War, and she was trained by whatever. It's a long story, but basically it's kind of a very much F character, right? No one knows who she's basically, but she's a Taskmaster daughter. She has his power. She can copy different martial arts and so forth. She's Taskmaster, right? And I actually have to say that the only joke that was good in this whole episode, in both of them, was when she said, "I probably will forget your name, Peter Parker," because Taskmaster and that his daughter has the issue, right, they copy too much, they forget who they are, so they lose their memories, right? There's like an issue of Taskmaster, the red code, I hate it. But anyway, he's an actual Taskmaster, and his daughter has that issue. So she's like, I will forget your name tomorrow, so see you, Peter Parker, kind of thing, Peter Parker. So that all the time I joke, because that is such an incredible, Marvel nerdy knowledge to understand why she won't remember his name. But anyway, it doesn't make any sense. Like, why is that thing? Then their teacher is the wizard, like this technical evil guy. And I'm just like, why does every literal character have to be a villain or a hero from the other, shows, right? Or from the Marvel universe, or whatever. I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of it. Oh, you go to school or to work school thing, internship with like, Tashada's sister, Shu, and Taskmaster's daughter. You're like, what? This is a weird combo too. And she's never been a scientist. I don't know. I'm just, you get my point. As a Marvel geek, as a Marvel nerd, this just burns my soul too, because I'm just like, this doesn't make any sense. They just like pulled random names out of a hat, So this whole thing that I bring up, right, that ever has to be something, is a huge issue in the show overall, right? And I don't get it, I don't get how they can be so bad this thing, because look at the classic Spider-Man has. Of course, Cap was there, Iron Man is there, Fantastic Four is there, etc. I mean, you have guest characters coming in, right? War Machine's one episode, etc. You have other characters, of course, appearing in that show, right? But this show here instead is like, his friend is Nico Minoru from the Runaways, and is she a witch in this universe too? That is a parent witches? I mean, like, it's just like, well, of course his classmate is actually another quite iconic, well, quite popular, I guess, Marvel character. You know what I mean? It's like everyone in his school has to be this thing. And it's really weird. I also find it really, really weird and off-putting, right? Because it's supposed to be more like I said, that these other Marvel characters that have powers and so on should have guest appearance, right? And maybe like one of his fellow classmates could have been another hero or a villain, but now it's like four of them, you know what I mean? And every one of his internship classmates thing are all heroes or villains. So I showed you this scene, of course, in the beginning of the video on purpose, obviously, because they really went there, okay? They really went there, right? When I say this is the most vocus garbage show ever made by Marvel, I really mean that. I just mean that because you have, Curt Collins being a woman now. No, because you have this character, right? This is Eugene / Lonnie now then instead. And he's walking home from school. This is a random black kid walking home in New York, right? And this is like the bad neighborhood. He lives in like a really bad neighborhood. And he's walking home here. He's done anything. And the cops come like, hey, Dawson the kid. Cop is like, they're gonna frisk you. And he's like this, he was like most obvious, like stereotypical racist thing. Look at this thing here. Cop is like, I mean, I shouldn't laugh at it because it's so stupid. And racism is wrong, okay? But it's just so ridiculous, you know what I mean? He's in the worst, poor neighborhood, right? He lives in the poorest neighborhood in New York. He's taking the ride home, right, on the subway. And this white kid is like, and it's literally is like him after having traveled for a while. This white kid is empty, there's basically no one else in the train now. This is at the end station. After this, he leaves, he goes and leaves his station, right? And the white kid is like, Mom, he's a black guy. Like, this is absurd. Because, as we know, right, in this Spider-Man universe, everyone else is black. Remember that. In this universe, apparently, 99% of the people living in New York are black now in this universe. So that white kid there, he's afraid of the friendliest black guy in the city. It makes no sense. He just sits there, just minds his own business, and the white kid and his grandma is like, oh, a black guy. But you're like, but it's only black people in the city. It's only black people. Why is the white kid afraid of the black guy when there's 99% black people in New York apparently? And the cop is like, I see you, black kid, and it's just like. Again, this takes place at the poorest neighborhood in New York, okay? This is not like he's not going around stealing stuff. He's not in the rich neighborhood. This is just before he goes home. The cop is staring him down at his house where he lives. In the next scene, he opens the door and lives here. And this is, again, the poor neighborhood or something. At the end station of New York. It's like, why? Why is the cop being like, what are you doing here, black guy? Like, there's no black people here. Like, the whole city's only black people, right? Like, why is the cop being like, So, whatever, you get my point. This is just that one absurd, this is kind of like the whole, I don't know, compare it to Assassin's Creed Yask or something, you know? Which is like, well, we have to have George Floyd looking like Yask or something. That's how this feels now. It's like we have to have a cop being like, ah, yeah, that's right. I see you, black person. I see you, guy. But otherwise, this character makes no sense. Seriously, okay? Even ignoring that apparently everyone hates him for some reason. This character is so badly written that I, again, question if these people have ever seen Spider-Man. So let's go back here.
Oh, then you should be the one getting the good luck, not us. Here, rub the championship.
He's the jock from, you know, the school. He's the football guy. He's the popular guy, you know, and everyone loves him. And he's just like, he's like the best bro to Peter Parker. This makes no sense here.
Can I work with Peter Parker?
Sure. Lincoln and Parker.
Like, he loves Peter Parker. Like, this guy is like Peter's best friend. And, you know, this honestly to me, there's so many wrongs here, right? Peter and a black guy? No, but obviously I'm talking about this, that this guy, he's you know, he's Eugene Flash, right? You know, this guy is obviously supposed to be a white guy, and this guy is supposed to be this, you know, annoying jock guy. Flash, right? Let me show you how it looks in the actual comic, right? I mean, obviously he's white and so forth, right? But the important thing is that he's always been that classic, you know, the jock, right? The strong guy, right? And don't get me wrong, I really, really hate the Spider-Man movie, latest Spider-Man movie version. He's like a small, tiny nerd guy. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. At least this guy is still a big, strong, you know, he's the footballer, the strongest guy, the American kind of athlete, whatever, yeah, and so forth. So he basically is a black version of the original Flash in a lot of sense. And that's better than having the guy being a nerd. That made no sense whatsoever. Because, of course, the classic trope here, right? And you can say it's tropey, and I agree with you guys that it's tropey, but a very classic point of Spider-Man is that he has one of his enemies with the Flash, right? And the Flash, of course, now, not the Flash from DC, but Flash here as a character in Marvel, Eugene Flash, is that Tombstone Flash, yeah, is that he is bullying Peter Parker, right? But he loves Spider-Man. So it's a classic weird feeling there, right? That his worst bully at school is also his biggest defender, right? Because Flash always defends him from like yay and so forth, right? It's always on his side, you know, and actually helps him sometimes to fight all. And then of course eventually he becomes a good guy, he becomes Eddie Venom and so forth, right? But the classic storyline is that he's a bully that is bigger and stronger than Peter, right? Until of course Peter gets spider powers, but he has to pretend that he can't defeat him. But when they're younger, he's just a bigger, stronger bully. He's stupid, but he's bigger and stronger. Now in the new version instead, he's still the biggest, strongest guy at school, popular, he's the quarterback, all the stuff, right? But he's also really smart and really nice. And it just feels like, but what's the point then, right? You're completely removing, again, the relationship with him hating Peter Parker, but loving Spider-Man. That's completely gone here. Right? This guy just loves both of them. Yeah, this guy's like, Peter, my bro, so he just likes them both. So you completely remove that storyline. But you also remove that classic bit, right? I keep saying it's stereotypical, but it's a classic bit, right? Where Peter Parker is the bullied nerd guy. And I was right. That's why I like Peter Parker, right? Because I was the bullied nerd. I was very good in school. I was Peter Parker, right? I had, you know, A+ in every subject, right? I had A+ in every subject, and I got bullied, right? You know, because I was a good student, right? So we can all, most of us, the read comic books, right? We relate to Peter Parker because he's the bullied nerd. It's not that complicated, right? But then you need to have a guy that is physically stronger and so forth than Peter Parker to bully you. You know what I mean? That's why the movie Flash was terrible too, because he was like a smaller guy than Peter and was trying to outsmart him, and Peter was way smarter. It didn't make any sense, yeah. And this guy also doesn't make any sense because this guy is just his best friend instead. So you don't have a bully anymore. This guy just loves Peter Parker. And he's like, what? What's the point of the character, basically? You're like, oh, he's just there to be, like, victimized by the cop. He's just there to be, like, honestly, that the cop is like, I see you, black guy, yeah. That is the only reason he's here. You're like, what's happening? You know, this character makes no sense. Like, he obviously is, you know, black, you know, Eugene Flash, but he's black instead. But, yeah, nothing of the character remains right, except that he's just, like, a better version. And honestly, this feels very woke. And I don't mean it's woke because it's black now, but I mean it actually feels very woke to me. I mean genuinely, in the sense that, you know, I really question if he was a white guy, you know, if he was still the Flash, right, the classic Flash evil quarterback guy, he probably would bully Peter Parker, you know what I mean? But now he's like a nice black guy instead because he's the biggest black, he's the biggest, strongest black guy at school. So now he's like super nice and smart because, he couldn't make the big black guy be mean, That's what I think, seriously. I feel that they probably rewrote him to have like the complete opposite personality because they were like, well, we can't have that stereotypical, we can't have that. That's not progressive enough. But they actually renamed him Lonnie Lincoln, which is another character in Spider-Man. As I mentioned earlier, everyone has to be something. And this actually makes it really weird. And honestly, this is also why I never understand these like far lefty woke people, right? Because you have a character then in the new Spider-Man show, which is incredibly woke, right? Which is a black guy. But actually, this is kind of racist because, let me show you this thing. He's actually an albino in the comics. That's right. It is really strange, actually. Isn't that kind of racist? Because, Tombstone, right, is a classic Spider-Man character. He has a backstory, right, with Spider-Man's friend, of course, Robbie, but he works with, it. And Robbie is black, and he knows so on and forth, right? He knows Tombstone since they were kids, right? Tombstone helped him, took a fall for him and so on, right? And Tombstone, of course, is a bully, he's a bad guy, right? Because he got victimized a lot as a kid. He's the only albino black guy, right, He's a poor black kid, but again, albino, so he looks white, you know what I mean? So people bullied him, and he got like a vampiric teeth kind of thing going on a little bit, right? So he got very much bullied at school and growing up and so forth, right? And that's why he turned into crime, you know what I mean? So they have taken his name, put him in this like poor neighborhood that he grows up in the comics as Tombstone, but removed the albino part. I think that's like super racist or whatever you call it. I don't know if we call albino people a race, but isn't that so weird? Am I the only one? This is supposed to be super woke Spider-Man, where Curt is a woman now, and everyone else is black, Osborn is black, Harry is black, and so on, right? But then we have an actual albino character in Spider-Man, and they remove his albinoism and makes him just black instead. And completely rewrite him from having any, bullying and issues of being albino, right? Remove all of his, like, sad backstory of being albino, then instead just puts him into this very just basic, like, oh, he was harassed by the cops or something. He's black. I mean, when it actually could have told a story about Peter Parker's friend that is an albino. That actually would be more interesting and more progressive. But no, we went for a super simple shot. And it also reminded me, example, I mentioned earlier, that Jasker, right, with the Assassin's Creed team, because it feels like they have no understanding what we're doing, right, I'm seeing a new trailer now for Assassin's Creed, and, there's watermelons everywhere, it's sakura blossoms. It's like the most shallow understanding of Japanese culture, right? Now, lastly, I want to say the show is just pathetic. It is seriously a very, very pathetic show because they take a lot of these characters, right? For example, of course, Marianne here, right? And they just give them like an other name instead, but it clearly is Marianne in every other shape and form. So Marianne now is a black woman, or maybe like Latino, so hard to say, and with blue-black hair, see there, right? Hugging kind of, Flash there. And otherwise, she is Marianne with like, she knows Peter Parker since they were kids. They grew up together as neighbors for a while there, for years. She knows his Aunt May, Uncle Ben, right? He knows her family, you know what I mean? So she is clearly like Mary Jane as a character in the universe, right? But instead of just calling her Mary Jane or MJ or whatever, right, they call her Pearl. Her name is Pearl. Her name is like Pearl Jane or something. You're like, come on, you just call her Mary Jane. Like, what are you doing, I keep saying, that's why I find it's pathetic. If you're gonna like change everyone's gender and call her, right? Curt Connor again is a woman now and black and so forth. If you're gonna do it with every kind of character, let's just have them the same name. What is the point of giving her the exact backstory of Mary Jane, but you call her like Pearl Jane instead of Mary Jane? You know what I mean? It's just like, come on, it's just silly, man. It's just silly. It's just pathetic, right? We all know what you're doing. Because then you can own the shots by saying that, well, she isn't actually Mary Jane, it's Pearl Jane. What are you complaining about? Her name is Pearl Jane, not Mary Jane. You guys used complaining for no reason, right? It is really, really silly, and it's just very pathetic. I would have more respect, right, for the people behind this show if they actually call her Mary Jane, right? Because again, she is clearly Mary Jane in every shape and form. Obviously, Peter Parker's in love with her. He wants to date her. He's jealous on the Flash dating her, you know what I mean? So, of course, she's Mary Jane, and again, she knows him, and she likes him back, but not in a romantic way currently. It's more like my brother way, So, whatever. She's obviously married. Just call her Mary Jane, right? It's very, very pathetic. But then, lastly, this whole thing then, also why I bring this image up here, is I just feel like earlier, I want to point out again here, but they don't seem to understand Peter Parker, right, as a character. Not so much Spider-Man, but really Peter Parker, right? Because, as I said earlier, right, the Flash now likes him, so he's invited with Nico to this party, right, after they won this football game. So it's like, he's nothing like Peter Parker whatsoever in that sense. He's not bullied, he's friends with, like, all of them. He got, like, a cool, cute girlfriend-ish going on, right? He's friends with the jock guy, and the quarterback guy likes him, so he invites him to the other guys. So all the other football players kind of like Peter, because, you know, if the quarterback, right, the leader of the, you know, the sport guy, like, this is my bro, this is my best friend now. These other guys, the guy in front of him, is gonna be like, yeah, bro, yeah, Peter, right? This is my lab partner, this is my best friend, you know. So they all treat Peter nicely, right? They invite him to parties, they're all nice to him. So you're like, nothing of the Peter Parker, like, in the normal storyline is basically there, right? You know, with him being bullied or whatever, or misunderstood or whatever. All that is gone. And it feels so weird. And it feels like, in lack of better terms, it's toxic positivity, right? You know? It comes back to me. I mean, I read about that last year, how I used to work at, you know, many different game companies. And these Vogue game companies, they're really terrible to work at, right? Because everyone is just overtly nice, right? Because that's really weird. But that's really annoying because no one actually honest, right? Everyone's just like, oh, I love you, yeah. Nothing actually gets done, you know, because everyone just pretends to like you, and nothing is actually ever resolved, right? This can have this feels too, that I see this in so many other shows from the Vogue people, that they just take all these characters and they can't imagine having, you know, a black guy being mean, right, you know, or this other guy and so forth. So they're all just like super friendly, right? So instead, Peter Parker goes to the friendliest school ever, where everyone just loves him, even though he's like a goddamn weirdo. And I say that with love, okay? Because Peter Parker in this show is even weirder and clumsier and annoying than usual, right? I saw the trailer immediately. They have taken everything that Peter is bad at, you know, and made it worse, right? He's a more annoying, crappy, nerdy white kid than he ever was before, right? Yet they all love him, you know what I mean? You're like, come on, man. So it's just like, oh, he's even more nerdy now? He's even more annoying now? The way he treats people, as people, he's even more, you know, out there as, you know, like a misfit nerd guy, right? Yet all these, like, jock guys are like, yeah, he's our bro, yeah, Peter, you go, Peter. That's going back later. Whatever, who cares? Who cares about that story? But if you guys subscribe to it and have a great day.